Hey everybody, welcome back to Ursa Minor Sewing. I know that I said in my last episode that this time I would show you how to attach the skirt and the bodice together, but I neglected to make a pattern for one of the pieces, so we're actually going to go through that process and make the piece. That is this piece right here. I don't have a pattern for it, so I'm going to show you how I put it together. Let's get started. Okay, so for this you're going to need your center front piece and your side front piece and a piece of either copy paper or A4 paper. But what I did was I measured this line here and this line here to get the amount, which for me was 6.5 inches. And then on the piece of paper, this is already cut, but I folded the paper in half and then lined this up along there, like this. I traced this bottom edge all the way up, and then at the top here, from that line, I measured up 5/8 of an inch. Or sorry, what I did was I drew that line. From that line, I ended up drawing this line here by going 5/8 of an inch up to get the actual seam line, and then from there I went another 5/8 of an inch up to get my cut line. Then I measured this line out to be 6.5 inches, which is what I had figured out from this piece and the other one. And then I squared off of that, or squared off of the edge of the paper. From there, I made a 5/8 of an inch seam line on the paper, 5/8 here and 5/8 at the bottom, and that was for the piece. Once I cut this out of the pink organza, the pink pot de soie and the organza, I also cut a rectangle of the white that was just as tall, but twice as wide. And remember, with all of these pieces, you're cutting them out on the fold because this is half the piece, right? This is your center front right here. So you're going to be just as tall, but twice as wide for this piece. And then it's double that, right? Because you're cutting it out on the fold. Then I took the white piece and I gathered it up so that it was down to the original width of this piece once you folded it out. And, excuse me. Oh, there's the other part of the piece. So, like this, right? So, I gathered it down so it was like this, and I didn't worry that I didn't have the notch here. All I did was I sewed it down on these three sides, and then I just pinned it as best I could along here, flipped it over so that the ruffling part was down, and then I stitched along here, and it was a 1/4 inch basting all the way around, right? After I did that, I made a chunk of piping that was as long as this line at the bottom here and sewed it down, and then I whip stitched on a chunk of lace to that. Once all of that was done, I brought the piece of organza that looked like this in, and I pinned it right sides to right sides, so you have to sandwich sandwich your ruffling and your piping underneath the organza, and you stitch just along these three sides here and flip it right side out. Once you flipped it right side out, you press your seam lines, you tack these seam lines together, and then sew it to your bodice, and I'll show you. See, here's the piece right here. Okay? And then when I flip, see the piece right there, it's tacked in at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then when you flip it right side, this is going to flare out once it's on the skirt, but there it is. Okay, just like that. And it looks just like the piece right here. Little chunk right there. So now when I pin this down to the skirt, these will flare out a bit more. And even if they don't, I can tack them open a little bit so that they show it off a bit better. But that is how you do that part. Pretty simple. Any questions, if I wasn't too clear on the directions, feel free to post them in the comments below. So that's how you do that funny little ruffle piece for the front there. Next video will be on attaching the skirt to the bodice, and it's a little more in-depth and involves some hand sewing. Sorry that these last couple of videos have basically been walkthroughs because I'm in such a rush to get this done, I'm forgetting to turn the camera on. So I hope that me sitting here talking is enough information. If what I'm saying isn't very clear, please ask questions and I will do my best to try and explain it to you. Yeah, next one, skirt goes on the bodice and we make this a full-fledged dress. So until then, guys, happy sewing.